Hello and welcome to the DrivingMaul show. Yes, we took a couple of weeks off. I'm sorry, folks, but being involved in the retail and the tourism industry means I've been a bit busy the last couple of weeks, and so has Cornflake as well, who's also a retail man. So yes, you've been a bit harassed by all those people saying, "Give me a Christmas present, give it to me now," and then Boxing Day, I want for a sale, give me the best deal.
All I can say is roll on January and maybe like roll on April. Roll on, the normal part of the year. No, it's
You'll just roll on. You'll just roll on until I go to the States. You are.
Yeah, April. Let's go.
That's what
Count down the days.
Your one all is. And then and we're going to roll somebody off the bench. I mean, look, he got banned. He got suspended for undisclosed team disciplinary issues back in. But now we'll ease him back into the squad. It's Stephen Harris. How are you doing, sir?
Very, very good. Thank you, Paul. And once again, it's a privilege and a pleasure to be invited back on the show. Great to be here.
As I say, we because of team confidentiality, we can't tell you what team protocols he failed. But yes, the team protocols that forced him to be benched for the last few games. But yes, we'll allow it. He's repatriated himself and got himself back into the starting squad on off the bench for this evening. The main topic we're going to start off talking about is Super Rugby, and we'll look at some of the Super Rugby squads and transfers that have happened. I got a rugby-related Christmas present, folks.
Ooh.
The New Zealand rugby independent and unofficial, the Little Book of New Zealand Rugby, and done by Jamie Wall. So I thought we'd start off with one of the opening quote from that one. Now some player runs with it, and general scrimmage ensues. It is all shove, pull, push, and roll about in a confused mass till down is cried, and away the ball goes again, till perchance it gets in touch or caught. There you go. That was the account or the match report from the first ever game in New Zealand in the Nelson Examiner in 1870. So that was the. I don't know if you think that the match reports have improved over the years, or whether they're equally shit. I don't know. But there we go.
I was going to say, not much has changed, has it, over the last 100 and whatever years?
So yes, I thought that was a good way to start. And then Stephen sent me a bizarre clip from on the old X's. Now I don't normally kind of go onto old X anymore. It's too dangerous a place for my thin skin. I can't cope with all the toxicity and stuff that flies around there. So what do you want to, Stephen? Do you want to describe what happens in this video, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, it's quite interesting. As we know, the offside line is based on the back feet of where the player's foot is, and in this particular video that's been doing the rounds on Twitter, they're actually calling it innovation. It probably is a bit innovative, but it's also a little bit cheeky as well, because we've seen the caterpillar crawl where players just add on extra players to give the halfback a little bit more time to kick the ball. But on this particular occasion, the receiver Mario Itoje, playing for Saracens, has taken the kickoff, and usually in most cases he will basically fall down and lay the ball back, but he's actually got his legs facing towards the opposition goal line and facing backwards, which basically means the players have to retreat behind his back legs, which once again.
Yeah, but this goes in stages, right? So we at YU Rugby Club very luckily had Wayne Smith come and do some coaching sessions a couple of years ago, and he had people. So they were tackled, you go down, and then you have a snap that basically pushes you further back or elongates you so that the ball is closer to your halfback than the opposition, making it harder for them to basically jackal the ball. In this one, what happens is Itoje gets tackled, lays down sort of side across the pitch as you would do normally, lays the ball back, and has a bunch of guys form a ruck over him of his own team. The opposition decide not to contest the ruck, and the tackler releases, rolls away, and you've only just got Saracens players there. Then Maro Itoje then shuffles round in about 4 or 5 movements to then be laying with his legs directly towards the opposition line, basically it's pushing back the offside line by about 4 to 5 feet. I mean, it's a significant distance. Now, to me, should he be allowed to move on the ground like that? Surely, is that within the laws, or is he actually is he contravening anything there because he's moving like that? I don't know. Yeah, it's to me. Yes, I can see it being rugby innovation in quotes, but it's just cynical law manipulation in my book.
Yeah, is he? Because the other thing you've got to take into account: how long is he holding the ball on the ground when he's contorting his body to face his legs the other way? That's the other question you've got.
Well, actually, I think by then it was underneath the caterpillar, about 2 or 3 people back. So he's
absolutely. It's kind of long gone. So it kind of puts him out of the ruck, but not really. He's still in the ruck. It's a little bit of a weird one, but I guess at a time where we've seen officials hurrying the halfback up to clear the ball, I reckon this also creates another, how shall I say, another sort of opportunity to slow ball down again. Try to find the words for it.
Yeah, my other one would be that once you're on the ground, you're effectively out of play. Isn't that's kind of the idea? So should you actually be counted as being part of the ruck? I'm not sure. Now that would stop all this clean out and basically just throwing people on the floor if they all became suddenly non-markers for offside, because then people it would suddenly make you very easy to charge in and attack the halfback. So, but yeah, I'm not a fan of it, and I think we'll be getting there'll be a if not it won't be a law change, but it'll be another one of these kind of directives to the referees saying don't allow this. Tell him to stop pissing around, because that's what he's doing, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Listen, at the end, I was going to say, Steve, just sorry to jump in. At the end of the day, it didn't help Saracens, but
that was what I was going to jump in with. I was going to say it's another rule to justify a rule to change of a rule, but it reminds me of Italy. All those a few years ago where they did their little ruck experiment, didn't they? By not joining and just killing that offside line, and I'm surprised it didn't catch on more. To be honest, I'm surprised it wasn't a thing that teams tried and
they did. Then they've changed the law now so that the opposition, even if the opposition doesn't,
they have to.
Engage, yeah. So there you
go. There'll be. Hey, I was going to jump on with the whole Saracens thing. They got smoked by Bath yesterday as well. So hey, they can be innovative all they like. You still don't win games. You don't score points, Saracens.
Yeah. Listen, I think guys, good that. It just shows you a lot of these coaches and players are thinking outside the square. So we are seeing some innovation. The only problem is all the innovation we're seeing seems to be up in either the Northern Hemisphere or South Africa at the minute. Wouldn't mind seeing a bit of innovation from down this neck of the woods.
Well, yes,
it's negative though, isn't it? Like it's not a positive innovation. It's kind of bending the rules in a way that they haven't thought of. Would you consider that a positive innovation? To me, that's something that it's like, yeah, it's innovative, but it's kind of against the, to use a cricket term, what do they say? The gentleman laws of the game, sort of thing.
Yeah, spirit of the game. I think
spirit. That's the one I was thinking of. Yes,
is what you're trying to say. Yeah, Cornflake. I was going to say, you could arguably say what South Africa do by releasing a bomb squad at halftime. Is that innovative? Maybe that's just a case of a team understanding their strengths and playing to them. I think they're probably fortunate that it hasn't backfired. We saw that in Super Rugby, didn't we, this year, where the Blues, I think, tried a similar tactic with a 6-2 split. The only problem was 2 or 3 of their backs went down in the first 15 or 20 minutes. So there are times that could backfire against you.
I think it just shows that actually we could do with two less subs on the bench. You only need three forwards, two props and a hooker, one other forward, one half back and one back, and that's it. That's all you need.
I agree. I think you could have almost like a six who could cover lock. Yeah, agree. And if you've got say South Africa haven't they got a couple of hybrids? The boy Grant Williams, doesn't he play halfback and wing as well? And I know Bay of Plenty Steamers had Leroy Carter, who could basically cover both halfback and first five. Could that be the next innovation, that we actually see those hybrids? But it may not be a bad place to go to, Paul, when you consider the number of players on the bench. Actually, it's a good point.
Yeah, no one else is talking about it in mainstream media, so it's not going to happen. But to me, yeah, just reduce the number of people on the bench would make it would definitely sort things out. The other bad news I've seen is that Ruben Love, unfortunately, is going to miss out the beginning of the the beginning of Super Rugby, as he's having ankle surgery. Something that apparently he's been managing for a while now. So he's out for 3 to 4 months. So unfortunately he'll miss a chunk of that, which is a shame. Especially as it was sort of coming through, and one of our sort of breakout players last year. Lots of nodding from Cornflake there.
Sad. Look, we'll talk about the Hurricanes later. Don't worry. It's a sad situation there.
Any other sort of rugby news that's caught your eyes over the last couple of weeks?
No, can't say. I've probably been a little bit like most of us, been in cricket mode, watching a bit of the summer sport. But on saying that, what Super Rugby is only something like about 49 days away, or something ridiculous, guys. And in the next probably 3 weeks, we'll start seeing. In fact, it's 45 days away is the start of Super Rugby. But we'll probably start seeing these preseason games, and just looking around all the squads, they've all got off to an early start. I've sort of been really impressed with the way the Highlanders seem to have started their season. And I saw an article with Jamie Joseph where they're actually, as opposed to doing a lot of training, they're actually doing rugby stuff, which is kind of quite refreshing. So they're obviously just trying to lay down a few seeds before the new year period starts. So it's gonna be interesting. I think these preseason are really is big for all of these squads, and I think the other advantage that the Highlanders have got, I think they've got too many All Blacks to worry about who are coming backwards or coming in and out of the squad. Well, probably only Ethan de Groot. Yeah, one. Exactly. Exactly. And boy, that can give you a really good advantage in terms of gelling your squad and finding your best combination come the start of the season.
We'll get on to the actual the squad side of things. But apparently, oh dear, and the All Blacks have decided to give Wellington both a France and a Springboks test. Yay! Let's play Test rugby in front of half-empty stadiums. That's what we would love to see. So Wellington's got both a French test and a Springboks test down there. At least go to places that fill the grounds, won't you? So yes.
At least it's in New Zealand, hey? At least it's at home.
Well, true. Well done, France, on that. We've already talked about one, haven't we? On that one. Yeah, Dr. Rice. Highlanders brainstorm idea. Work on rugby skills. That's love that one. And Dr. Wright says, yellow seats painted black maybe in the cake tin. Yes, that's like a scare and put black jerseys over the backs of each of the seats just to make them look like there's somebody there.
Oh, it's not good news. Look, at least it's here though, right? I mean, there's nothing worse than home games going away. That would have been, I reckon, a bit of a disaster. It's good to see, and I kind of hope other teams do it more. just be like, no, we're going here. But I have seen this. The Northern Hemisphere rugby season is in full flow, and I have heard there's a bit of a condition going around in France as well. It's called hemispheric phobia. I don't know if you've heard of that one, but it seems like there's little Anton Dupont that's been getting put down with that condition as well. That's some good rugby news going on.
Sorry, what phobia?
It's a person who has a phobia of going to opposite hemispheres.
Oh, okay. So Auckland's got the Springboks and Wallabies. France aren't playing in Auckland. That's a bit of a shocker, I would say, on that one. When's that Christchurch Stadium kicking off? That's
2026,
isn't it?
26. Oh, okay, so not next year, the year after. On that one. The Eden Park for South Africa, right? Yep. Yeah. Well, Eden Park, South Africa, remember, got 2 tests here next year because New Zealand had 2 tests in South Africa last year, and hence no tests in New Zealand for Argentina. So you know what? At least we can't lose at home to Argentina this time next year because it won't happen. That's a record that won't be broken next year. Is the biggest loss in New Zealand to the Pumas will not be broken next year. That's my prediction for the year. And maybe we'll have a prediction show in the new year. On. Anyway, we should actually get into the squad, shouldn't we? Let's go from north to south then. Kicking off with the Blues, and looking at the Blues, not many changes really when you're looking at the number of players coming in. I mean, one of the players coming in that's listed, you've got to say you'd expect, but a change at hooker with James Mullen coming in from Canterbury, replacing Sione Vicano, who was headed over to the Highlanders. Bowden Barrett comes back, funnily enough, and of course we've seen off the back of that, we've seen Harry Plummer head overseas, and Rion Paul has come into the centres from Bay of Plenty. So another player coming up from the NPC, and they've also brought in Chi Clark from the academy. With Bryce Heem heading off, and Caleb Tangi Tua heading off to the Highlanders. And Akiri Wani obviously heading over to Japan. A bit for a championship. Well, everyone yourselves, the championship team. The 4th time the Blues have won the Super Rugby, but the first time since 2003. So it's a 21-year gap in that one. What are your Dr. Rice, Highlanders always last, Paul, bar humbug. Yes, sorry. So what do you think of that? From being a Blue supporter, Stephen, are you happy with the business they've done? That they kept the squad together, or do you prefer a bit of a refresh?
Oh, there's probably no need to. They won a title. They I think a lot of these guys had probably signed for longer terms. You know, you think of the likes of somebody like Segner, who signed with Auckland for a couple of seasons, so he was always going to be up here. I think the issue for the Blues is now everybody knows their game plan and how they play. So all these other franchises have got another season to try and basically figure out how to negate this particular Blues team. I mean, so there's really not too many losses, like you said. They've got a couple of gains there, a couple of interesting selections. Young Spencer, Peyton Spencer, certainly interests me. Being earmarked as a talent. James Mullen, I believe, was pushed up this way by Jason Ryan, who basically spoke to the Blues and asked them to move up this way because they rate him. He was highly rated a couple of years ago. Picked up an injury. Akira Ioane, they'll obviously have to replace him, but I'm very excited by the likes of Shay Clark. he looked a very tidy rugby player in what was a very poor Auckland season. I can't see too many changes in terms of how their game plan, whether they're gonna stray from that. But all round it's a pretty talented all round squad. There's sort of no reason why they can't go back to back. Like I say, the only real danger is, I think, if another team can stand up to them up front. And there was the odd occasion last year, a couple of teams did. I know the Hurricanes at Eden Park went very, very close and were a little bit unlucky. And I think some of these Australian teams away are not going to be the easy beats that we saw in 2024 this year. I think that's pretty much all you can really say about the Blues. Not too much change in staff coaching as well, from what I believe.
No, I've not heard of much change there. I mean, Cornflake, obviously having Hoskins Sotutu and Akira Ioane as your double bash up, the sort of bash brothers, is Akira Ioane going to be a loss, or do you share Stephen's kind of view that it's much the same for the Blues heading off into next year?
Yeah, it's not broken. You don't fix it, do you? And I do kind of give them a bit of credit for that. The Blues, they've done well to keep the core of their squad together. I still find they've got plenty of depth in that back row, which I think was a big strength of theirs last year. When you look at the names that are still there, they've got guys that are just going to already been filling that role, but can step into it straight away. So, look, the Blues, it looks good. It's hard to say it's a championship team, but you look at it and say they won it last year. So, they must be doing something right in that. But I credit that more to the way that they were playing more than individual talent. To me, I don't go, look, this team was carried on the back by player X, Y, and Z. This is a team that I feel played like a squad, like a team. They didn't put individuals over the squad, and they performed really, really well as a unit. So if they're going to contend again, they've got to get that camaraderie and that squad mentality back again for them. And sure, they can. The talent is there. We know it. We've seen it. And if they can keep that system together, they will be a force to be reckoned with. But I'm excited for this Blues team. If I'm going to pick out anywhere, I'm looking forward to seeing from them. It's the young backs that they've got. I want to see if some of these guys are going to make that step up. Like Stephen's already mentioned, the Peyton Spencers. I want to see more from guys like Zahn Sullivan. I especially want to see more from those All Blacks in that back line who, Caleb Clark had an all right year, but I think Rico's been kind of floundering a bit internationally level. I think guys like that need to stand out, and Mark Salier's probably fallen off the pace a little bit of being, at the World Cup. He was the best winger in All Blacks jumper. I want to see him lead as a backline player in this team. So I think they can drag some guys through and find some more talent in that backline. Could be quite exciting. But definitely when you look at the key areas, that back row, the 9 and 10, they've got good options in that second row as well, and experience in the front row. They tick all the boxes of good Super Rugby players. These aren't guys who are going to be all featuring massively internationally, but at this level in Super Rugby, these guys are all at a very, very good level, and hopefully we see some more players join them for the Blues. Not too many though, because someone else can win this year.
Actually, correction corner here already, because Harry Plummer is here for this Super Rugby season, but he's leaving at the end of it, at the end of the Super Rugby season. So he is here for one more season with the Blues.
Can I call out his comments? Like saying that the New Zealand Rugby really showed their hand with the number 10 options this season, and that's why he's gone overseas. No. I mean, to me, this season, if I'm a number 10, this is a reason for me to stay in New Zealand, because they showed how average their hand is. I don't think the hand of New Zealand Rugby number 10s is at all strong. And if I was in his position as a player that was right on that doorstep, deservedly or not, he was on that doorstep. He was really close. I would have wanted to stay. I think the opportunity is there. I don't think the number 10 jumper is at all showing hand to be strong in New Zealand Rugby. But what do you guys reckon?
I don't think it's about hands. I think the amount of talk around bringing Richard Mo'unga back, I think was kind of like, they have zero faith in me. They never really want to pick me. I'm just like I'm the last man standing. So they're never really going to go with me. They're going to keep trying to get Richard Mo'unga back. and therefore, if you're not going to have any faith in me, then why should I stick around? It's more from that point of view rather than, oh, there's a logjam of great players ahead of me. It's more a matter of even when I'm playing at my best, they just don't trust me at all, and just give me that last 5 minutes in one test, and then I'm discarded.
Well, I think Plummer's got to understand that he actually got his opportunity because there was an injury. There was an injury to Stephen Perofeta, and listen, we all know rugby can be a fickle game. I'll tell you what. If he's heading overseas, he wouldn't be the first player that signed a contract to go overseas. And all of a sudden, there's been a raft of injuries, and too late because I remember I can think many years ago when Rennie Ranger signed a contract in France. Then there were a lot of injuries, and then everybody was calling for him for the rugby union to basically to get him out of his French deal. Now he's not the first player that's actually happened to, and I think what Harry Plummer's got to understand, you may be only 2 or 3 injuries away from getting an opportunity. So hey, at the end of the day, good luck to him.
Yeah, and look, Rugby Gamer says, you said unfair not getting a chance, but bro, he's competing against Mackenzie and Barrett. You're not going to get much of a chance, especially when the All Blacks are losing and every game is a must-win game. It's not like there's kind of when Razor thinks he's next on the block, is he going to be giving other players chances? No, to be honest. But so yeah, no, he's realised he's down the pecking order, and actually, you know what? Go make money. I think it's the right move for him, to be honest.
I don't blame him making money at all.
Whether he should speak out like that, different ball game. But the actual, I think from a financial, from a business point of view, I think he's made the right decision.
Yeah, no, I don't blame him at all. Go cash in where you can. It's probably in terms of shop window, he's in the best opportunity for that after the season for sure. He's had those opportunities. Had a good Super Rugby season. He looks most appetizing for overseas clubs right now. That is for sure. But yeah, no one else is really knocking on that window, are they? That are going to, I think, take his spot. And I. Like Stephen says, both of you said, a couple of injuries. You know, if Mackenzie went down big 6-monther, someone's got to step up. Someone has to go in, and you're in the mix.
But yeah, he's not the. And this was moving on to the Chiefs. Then, when you also look at players who are coming through. I mean, Perofeta was one of them. Now he's behind Barrett at the Blues. You look at other players. Caleb Trask and Josh Jacob. Again, they're behind Dave McKenzie. Are they actually at the right places? Should they be trying to find a starting spot somewhere rather than that? And especially with Brett Cameron being out of action now for the Hurricanes. But moving on then to the Chiefs. Oh, actually, the final thing on the Blues. Do you think Vern Cotter will maintain his? I'm not going to listen to Razor. I'm going to do my own style. I'm not going to follow the All Black style just because that's what Razor wants.
I hope so.
That's arguably what happened last year with the Blues. They were the only team that didn't follow Razor's thing. And Stephen's a yes. Cornflake, you think he's going to do this? He's going to hit the same method?
Yeah, I hope they do. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Moving on then down the road to the Chiefs. A little bit more change here. Players out. The main one, Josh Ioane, has headed over to Connacht. There, not someone that necessarily played all that much. A bunch of other players they've got down as going as heading off during the season, like your Hamilton Burrs and your Tyrone Thompsons and so forth. But I think they were got kind of players who sort of came in and out of the squad because of injuries and things. So not many losses there really. Coming in, Brody McAllister, hooker from the Crusaders. Fitzy Sa is the lock from Taranaki. Jerome Brown, a back rower from the Brumbies. Malika Rampling Alec, back rower from Waikato, so it's moving up from the NPC, and also Leroy Carter moving up from the NPC as well. To my mind, one of the things I would say about that is the 3 players that have moved up from the NPC have come from Taranaki, Waikato, and Bay of Plenty, and it's all internal moves from their from there. What's the word we're looking for? From the Chiefs catchment area. So that's a good sign. And very, very much what the Crusaders have historically done, only bringing players in from from Tasman and Canterbury. And so I like to see that. That's a good move there from the Chiefs, showing that actually their internal pathways are building in the right direction. I think the Chiefs. A quick review of their Super Rugby season last year. And I've gone and lost my page where I had it. Damn it! They made the final, didn't they? Beating the Hurricanes away in the semi-final for that one. So they finished what was that, fourth in the table, but it was a distant. They were 9 points behind the Brumbies in third, so they were very much outside of that top three during the actual season. So. Cornflake, did they with a? Is it a happy sailing? Let's keep going, or is there a? You know what? We're a little bit off the pace. We should have. We do need a bit of a refresh.
When this team looks as good as it does on paper, I don't know if you want to go searching too much for solutions outside of the personnel that they have. They're kind of the opposite of the Blues that we talk about, where the Blues were playing well as a unit. The Chiefs, a little bit of the opposite, where they weren't together as a team enough in the way that they played and found themselves just a little bit off. When you look at a team that has these sort of names in it, I feel like they should be performing and really pushing it up for the best sides in there. So, look, I like what they've done because they don't look like they're desperately searching for something to change. They know what they've got, and they want to continue working with the names they've got. I'm really interested by the Jerome Brown switch from the Brumbies, though. I think that's going to be an interesting pickup, but how he fits in with some already very good back rowers in that Chiefs lineup is going to be really intriguing to see. And the nines, I mean, who's going to come out of this 9 battle with their heads held high at the Chiefs? I mean, you've got 2 3/4 really, really talented. You know, the Tahurianangi has kind of fallen off the pace a little bit, but hey, we still know he's quality. So you've got Ratama, you've got Rowe, and you've got Tahurianangi in there that's going to fill your 9 jersey. That is going to be a really good, intense internal battle for those guys to try and win out that number 9 jumper. So I like this Chiefs team. I feel they have a little bit of holes, a little bit of gaps in places, but I feel like they're key positions, again, much like the Blues, a good back row, good 9s, depth in the 10s, again, some good in the type 5 players. Yeah, Koi's been really good. They've nabbed up with Josh Lord and Vai is there. We've talked about how we've liked what the likes of Shelby Ricketson done as well. And, in the front row, they always seem to have players who are solid in Super Rugby level. So I feel like they'll be disappointed, but who's better to take that disappointment to the next level than the guys that didn't do the job last time? So, unfinished work to be done for the Chiefs. But I like the fact that they're not looking like they're freaking out about it and they know what they've got to do.
Yeah, 14 All Blacks in this Chiefs squad. So just goes to show they have a ton of depth, guys. If they look back at last year, their best performance was probably that semi-final away win over the Hurricanes, probably their best performance. But against the Blues on 2 occasions, their scrum was found out. And I think that's an area that's a real work on for this Chiefs team. But boy, I love the bench options that they've got available. You know, you could start with D-Mac at first 5, Stevenson at fullback. You've got Etienne Nane Satoro who could come off the bench. Josh Jacob, we were speaking about first 5s for me. He's a real player I'm going to be really interested to see. I think, it's going to great that they're going to have an All Black halfback first 5 combination and D-Mac and Cortez Ratama. For me, the player I want to see a lot more of is Fafita, because to my way of thinking, I think he's got a bit to prove as an All Black. But boy, any team with Wallace Satiti is, and we saw how his game grew during the season, they are going to have a lethal back row. And as you said, Cornflake, Jerome Brown, really and truthfully, he's only returning to his roots, isn't he? Originally either Rotorua boys or Tauranga boys.
Yeah.
So in a way, he's kind of a local player as well. So it'll be interesting to see what sort of value he has. But boy, they've got a lot of depth and combination. You look at their squad; they're definitely a potential finalist, but they will have to sort that scrum out big time.
Yeah, and that's the one area weak, isn't it? Is props at the end of the day. If you look at Tyrone Thompson, has dropped out and been brought in by Brad McAllister with Slater and Takilaho, fine at hooker. But you look at those props: Io, Dyer, Norris, O'Neill, Profit, Ross. Across the rest of the board, you're looking at if you go, Samasoni, Takiaho. You could have Josh Lord and Topu Va'ai starting an All Black set at some point this year, and you could have a back row of Finau, Jacobson, and Satiti if there are a few injuries there. So it's just that when you say yes, they've had problems at scrum time. It's just that those props are the one area that I think that is one little gap in their armory. And when you think that actually we don't have to go back that far back where they were scrabbling up to North Harbour asking for a club prop to come in, who suddenly became Big Carl, who became an All Black that year because of injuries. Perhaps the Waikato area hasn't been the best breeding ground for props over recent years, which might be their slight problem, really. Get more farmers in. Get them out there manhandling those cows. That's what you really need.
Look, one little thing on the Chiefs before I wrap it up on the Chiefs. I want to see what this back row combination is. That's going to be my biggest watch, because I feel like Jerome Brown is like one of those Ruben Thorne invisible, but he is a bit more visible kind of sixes that tackles, defends, cleans rucks, and does go for the odd scamper. Whereas you've got like a Satiti, if they're going to play him at 8 and a Jacobson at 7, you've got an old school, old fashioned 6, 7, 8 of a old Kino sort of player at a 6, a big carrier, bull runner sort of guy, and Brown, and then you've got what Satiti does, and then Jacobson to be your feature sort of guy. So I'm intrigued if they're going to go with that and where Finau fits into there as well. But if that's where I'm excited to see what they do. Where I'm concerned is what they do as a midfield. Because we've seen Antonio Brown have probably a very up and down wishy-washy season, especially internationally. Tapia, I hope, gets better and better and better and recovers that confidence. But I wouldn't mind seeing more of a likes of a Poi Hippie in the mix, because I think that guy's got some real talent. So I'm intrigued to see where and who is going to step up in that midfield. That's a bit aging and a bit down on confidence. Who's gonna make that step? Who's gonna turn back the clock? Who's gonna regain the confidence, or who's gonna become the future star in that midfield? So a lot to look for.
I think Rona's actually the guy that they've got. Daniel Rona's the one that they've got their future.
Try-scoring freak.
Get having to Pirate 12 and Rona at 13. To me that is I think what they're looking at in the future rather than Poi Hippie. He's a couple of years younger than him, and he's someone that has come through only under Clayton McMillan as well. I don't think he was there under Gatland, so I think he's one of Clayton's guys, because he came through as a kind of injury cover guy, and then the following season he's like, yes, you're getting a full contract. So I think they've got big raps on Rona there. Gideon Rampling, I think, might find that size is an issue for him, and he'll probably fall out of that one. But I am interested in is Malachi Rampling Alec? Is he like a half brother or half or somehow related to Gideon Rampling? I don't know.
They are.
Yep.
I've looked them up before.
Sorry, you've showed that one before. Okay, on that one. It's funny how certain names like Coombs, Fabling, and Rampling and stuff seem to bounce around in there's just below Super Rugby level players. There's quite a few of them who are all kind of related. So Chiefs. So far we've already got ourselves our final. It's Blues versus Chiefs apparently. Okay, we'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of that one.
I hope that wasn't the Mike King.
I hope not.
He talks about mental health issues. Okay, Mike, I hope you're okay, mate.
Heading on down then to the Hurricanes, and we've already mentioned that they've got injury issues before the season even starts, because Ruben Love is out for 3 to 4 months. They've also lost their starting fly half of Brett Cameron for the season as well. Injury issues are already a problem for the Hurricanes. And if you look at the transfers, this one will take me a little bit longer than the others, because going out, we've got O'Reilly, Sangster, Grant, Howden, Lasaquai, Judd, Perinara, Aidan Morgan, Jordy Barrett, Raisi, Josh Morby, and some serious quality there, disappearing, particularly in the backs with Aidan Morgan, Jordy Barrett, Salesi Raisi, and Joshua Morby. So I say serious quality going, disappearing there. Coming in the locks, we've got some Will Tucker and Zach Gallagher from the Highlanders and Crusaders, so both with Super Rugby experience. Aresi Polikuo comes up from Taranaki from the NPC, and Irari Inari at scrum half joins from Moana Pacifica. Look, he's been around a few squads, because wasn't he at the Crusaders before as well? So Riley Hopepper at fly half, who obviously helped out at the Crusaders last year, but I think is really a counties boy. Lucas Cashmore also comes in from the Bay of Plenty at fly half. Fianang Ganafo has comes in at centre from Bay of Plenty. I'm really sorry about the butchering of that one. As well as Kay Banks and TJ Clark at fullbacks from North Harbour and Wellington. So a whole bunch of players coming up from NPC, plus some experience as well. So from looking at that from a mixture, I think that's quite a good mixture of experience and youth. But the problem is just the volume of changes compared to the other teams that we've talked about so far this season, or so far this evening. Stephen, are you worried about the Hurricanes, or do you think improvements are going in the right direction?
Yeah, I am a little bit. Listen, they played some really good code last year, and they'll probably think back to that semi-final as a missed opportunity, because I actually thought at the time they probably had the game to come to Eden Park and give the Blues, I think, a much better contest than what the Chiefs did at the end of the day. But boy, the sort of the elephant in the room really is the first five, because I kind of look at the first fives and I think to myself, gee, who's going to be your main pivot? Because there's not a lot of experience there. If there's one kid that I do like the look of it, and I thought he had a great NPC when he came back from injury, was Harry Godfrey. There are some who say probably more of a fullback. A fullback than a first five, but I was quite impressed when he went into the first five for the Magpies. He looked pretty good. It also seems like they've bulked up their middle row as well by bringing Zach Gallagher in, and also Tom Allen, New Zealand 20s, who's highly rated, really, really big lock as well out of the Hawke's Bay. So they've built in those areas. I know they didn't have Artie Savia because he was away on his sabbatical last year, but boy, I think he would have been a handy guy to have around with the squad. I'm saying that they've got some real threats as well out wide, but I think for them it's going to be about sort of finding each other, and I think their key guys, their key leadership guys, are going to be big for these guys. Brad Shields and the likes of Duplessis, Karifi, people like that. Also some of their front rowers, Tyrell Lomax, Safa Amor, they can be that dynamic sort of team, but they are going to have to put in some really strong upfront performances week in, week out, and well managed by their halves at halfback and first five.
Oh, before I let Corvick come in, I'm going to have to disagree with you on the Artie Surveyor one. Look, great player, But to my mind, I think removing him meant that a lot of that particular back row had to step up, and it wasn't so much of a what's Ardy doing to save us. It was we're stepping up and going to play. So actually, I think actually as a team, they did better off without him than actually with him. So I think bringing him back in would have been a detriment in some ways, because those leadership positions that those other guys have been able to have had to take up has actually been good for you. So your Peter Lackey's, your Carifis, your Flanders, and so forth. Whether Brad Shields actually start, well, actually he's captain, isn't he? So I guess he's going to be starting there in that side. But yeah, look, I mean, you got Lomax, Tossi, Amua is a decent front row to start off. You got an All Blacks front row there. You bring in Walker Leary, and Tucker did good jobs last year. Add in there Gallagher and Allen. You got to say Lackey, Karifi, Shields, Iosi, and Flanders. And you got plenty of there. Roy Gard will obviously be leading the way, and it's a matter. I think he's going to be a very key player for them. Him staying injury free is massive. If he gets injured, I think their challenge falls away. As you say, can Cashmore or Hohepa step up? But if you run off 9 rather than 10, maybe you can get away with it, because your Proctors, Amanga Jensens are going to get you over the line. And then if you get your, or Ruben Love, we just said isn't there, but your Naholos, Punavai, it's an untested back three, or it's a because I say you've lost your Morbies and Ryasi, but I mean Naholo came through great last year and shocked everyone, and I think actually some of these guys having not so much game tape on them might actually help them, rather than being people knowing what they're going to do. But Steve, I'll conflict your thoughts. Are you Ardy's a big loss, or an Ardy is Ardy's what they need to key to the jigsaw they need?
No, he's Moana. I don't care now. He's gone. He's Moana. We'll talk about there when he's there. I mean, it's time to move on. Hurricanes. There was yesterday. Let's look forward to tomorrow. No, look. What's done is done. The past is the past. I do believe though they'll be the last season in his absence. So a lot of players stood up and led, as opposed to following. We talked about that a lot last season with this Hurricanes team. But look, a player of his caliber is going to be a huge miss, no matter what shirt he pulls on or what shirt he's representing. But look, this Hurricanes team is one that last season was so exciting. I was loving watching. I thought this is a team I can enjoy for a while. There's so many players I want to see play more. And now, now we're back at square one, aren't we? We're saying like, okay, well, who are all these guys we're going to enjoy watching this season? Because it was, especially in those up and comers, I rated Aidan Morgan very highly. I think he was such an underrated player that should have got way more game time. His loss, and it's kind of like we spoke about before, players signings go overseas and then injuries happen, and they would have been a key part of that squad had they had stayed. If he had stayed, we would be sitting here going, key is that 19, Roygard, Morgan, that is massive. Now we're sitting here going, they've got to run everything through 9 because there's just nothing else going on at 10. We've seen what Hoepa can do in a red jumper. I don't have much faith it's going to be much better if he puts on a yellow one. So there's a lot of pressure is going to be on the 9 to midfield, 12, 13. And look, the loss of Ruben Love, another man. At least he's still here, but to lose him for a few months is going to be massive as well. I rate him incredibly highly. So I look at this team and I go, all the big, shining bright lights that I love about this Hurricanes team and that I feel like are going to become massive parts of New Zealand rugby in the coming years are not actually going to be featuring too much. So it's a bit of a shame. So I'm going to be looking for the likes of Harry Godfrey. So I've seen featured heavily in the talks around, will he be wearing 10? How much will he be playing? Where will we be going? Definitely is one I'm going to be looking out for, to where he can make an impact, because someone's got to stand up and someone's got to help Roygard, because, if you're a team against this Hurricane side, you certainly know where you're going to pinpoint your defensive attacks, and it's going to be, especially in the back line, shutting down that 9 and what he can do there. But look, I think pack-wise is still very, very good, which is weird to say about the Hurricanes.
As you're defending against these guys, if anybody leaves pillar, you're shot, right? If you're the post, or if you're the post guy of a ruck, don't you dare leave a gap, right? that's going to be your number one thing as to your number one rule for defending against the Hurricanes is keep those two posts in there, and don't let Roy God run. But yeah, sorry, you're going to talk about the pack.
No, look, he's got a lot of good support though, doesn't he? Like that back row will be very, very good. I'm excited to see more from Lakai and Yossi. I think they are definitely up and coming guys. And what Karifi we're going to get this year, is he actually stepping up and becoming that sort of next level top tier Super Rugby player, or is he not? We're going to see more this year. So like, it's weird to say the Hurricanes are going to have a good pack because typically they've got really exciting backs and very average forwards. Now the times are changing. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to where we're going to see these young guys come through on the outside backs, and who's going to really wear that number 10 jumper. That for me is super, super key for this Hurricanes team.
Yeah, I just also think they're especially in centres, they're one injury away from being scrabbling around pretty quickly as well.
Look, interestingly enough, guys, I just looked back to last year, and Ruben Love was the number one fullback, but the second choice when he was available was actually Harry Godfrey.
Yep.
Morby played most of his games on the wing, and it was only when Godfrey got injured that they actually used Morby as a fullback, and that was pretty sparingly as well. But their number one was definitely Love. So based on that, I hate to say it, I'm not going to get my wish. I think Harry Godfrey is probably going to be in that 15 jersey.
Didn't he score a hat trick on his Super Rugby debut? He scored a couple of tries. He tore the team apart, and that's when everyone's like, "Oh no, they've rested everyone for this game. Oh, what are they doing? They've got no names in here at all." And it's like, "Okay, hello, Harry Godfrey. I see you there with your plenty of tries." And then we hardly saw him again because he got broken. But look, it only takes a couple of games for someone to step up and say, "Here I am," whether it be a 15-10, wherever. So. Look, opportunity, it's here.
Yeah, but they do need some players to take that opportunity. That's whereas other teams we've talked about so far aren't in that same kind of place. Okay, then moving to the South Island. Now the Crusaders had their worst season ever, pretty much. I think is probably fair to say, finishing outside of the playoffs in 9th place. Only the Force, Moana Pacifica, and Waratahs were beneath them, and the Waratahs beat them twice. Remember, the Waratahs, the only team they beat was the Crusaders. So their response has been to get in. A friend of the pod, or someone we've had on the podcast before, is they got in the Gainline Analytics to have a look and go, was it a bad coach, or was it a or was it a deeper, or was it actually other issues? And they decided it wasn't a coaching issue because they've kept him. So he's there again. And he's going to have different personnel to deal with because this is another big list of players that have left. Franks and Moody, the two props, have. They finished last in their first season of Super Rugby. Yes, okay, so it isn't quite the worst. So there we go. I stand corrected. Thank you, Rugby Gamer. But that goes beyond my memory. Being an old fellow, I can't remember that far back anymore. Players out. Franks and Moody in the front row. Both Quentin MacDonald and Brodie McAllister as hookers. So that's when you only have 3 hookers on your books, losing 2 of them is not great. Zach Gallagher has also gone over to the Hurricanes along with Riley Hohepper, and Fergus Burke has headed over to Saracens. The player whose injury ruined their season last year was the thing. Rovers dropped down to Canterbury, so out of the squad. Tyne Robinson has headed off to the Highlanders. Murray has over to the Reds. Toby Arnold has retired. And Lee Halfpenny has headed back to Harlequins after his massive impact he made last season. A couple of others of other old names that left during the season. You had Willie Hines and Ryan Crotty, who, if you might have forgotten, actually came into the squad and then and dropped out the 37 and 35-year-olds. So who have they decided to bring in then? Xavier Safi Fully in the back row from Waikato. Carl Preston at scrum half from Wellington. Levi Amua from Tasman. hang on, he's already there, wasn't he? So I don't know why he's down on that one. And also Braden Ennell comes back from injury as well. So clearly they decided that apparently those guys are transfers in. But Braden Ennell missed last season through injury. Macca Springer from Tasman again. Macca Springer was also playing for them. So really not many players in. The big name is James O'Connor, who has come in at fly half to fix that Fergus Burke, Riley Hohepper hole. He has come back in to that one. Loxton Wright says, will they pass the ball to Levi Moore this year? Well, yes, that's that is a big question, isn't it? When you have a player who, for the Moana Pacifica, show you what a great player, wonderful player he can be, and how to use him, and then decide to totally ignore him. Not even really run him as even a decoy runner much. That one there. Who was the guy with the white hair? He was like 32. He won the game for them against the Chiefs in round 6 with the interception. Ooh. I can't remember who that one was. But yeah, look, quite a lot. It's when we look at the Crusaders, we say, look, they're the most settled squad out of Super Rugby. That's not really happening this year with this one. If you look at players they've got coming back, Will Jordan, for example, was injured for them all last season. Braden Ennell was injured all last season. Again, maybe they will actually have Ruz Rehana fit this year as well. So might have some fit number 10s. And that really, I think Dallas McLeod also had time out with injuries as well. So injuries really did ravage this team last season. So in some ways, you could say actually they've got a whole bunch of players coming back into this squad because of that. And whose turn is it this time? I've gone. We're back to a cornflake one, aren't we? Actually, I'll save cornflake for the Highlanders. So we'll go with Stephen Harris here. Stephen, is this a squad then that actually, once you've got your injuries, haven't got your players injured, that actually you've got yourself a decent team, or is this a squad that you're kind of like, geez, they need to bring players in?
Well, that's going to be the true test of the coach, isn't it? Last year, I think we cut him a bit of slack with all the injuries that he had last year. And let's be honest, it was horrific at time, the number of players that they had in. But even when those players slowly started coming back, I think the confidence had well and truly been sucked out of the team. Not to mention they had injuries in those pivotal positions. They tried young Taha Kimara, and they tried Rivers Rehana, and then they basically settled with I think Rivers Rehanas were injured. Then they tried Riley Hohepa. So they've brought in the experienced James O'Connor. Somebody needs to own that first 5 spot, whether it's Rehana or Kimara. But I think one of those young guys really needs to come through for this Crusaders team to fire. They've got enough talent. It's an easy prediction. They're going to be better than what they were last year. Whether they're good enough to win this competition, I'm just not so sure.
You look at this team and you kind of wonder how they were so bad, albeit before the injuries.
Just quick. Stephen Harris was telling us about how many All Blacks there are in the Chief squad. There are 19 internationals in this one. Whether you call Johnny McNichol from Wales an international anymore, I don't know. But there are 19 internationals technically in this squad. So in theory, depth is there, Cornflake.
Yeah, exactly. That's when you look at it. There's plenty of names there that have international representation, and you wondered, even if you lost, half of that squad, you should be able to put a pretty good squad still out on paper. But there was just a serious mislink between players, between roles, and between who was doing what, and it just seemed like no one really had the confidence in the team around them and the players with them. They just lacked the basic sort of things, and the game plan wasn't working. The leadership was struggling, and we did see the difference when you saw Scott Barrett come back from injury. You saw that definite lift when people go, someone we can follow. Did help them for a couple of games in a row, and then he kind of shimmied in and out of the lineup, and And again, that same sort of issues faltered up again. So look, if they can keep guys and consistency in the squad and find what works the best, because you look at that team and there's a lot of names. Who are the right options? They need to find that stuff out quickly. Who's going to be their best midfield combination? Who are their best back three? Where does McNichol fit in? Where does Macca Springer fit in? Obviously, Jordan Reese are going to be there. Is it wing? Is it fullback? Are they following the All Black orders? What role does Almore play? Who, of course, was this magnificent player, and the Crusaders were cheating by bringing him in from Moana. And it's like, oh, how can they do such a thing? And now we're looking at him going, what a loss of talent he is. So for me, it's just getting those guys, especially in the back line, to find their roles and to find the best players to fit them and get some a bit of consistency in the team and do their thing, because the talent's there, the depth is there, the talent's there. But like Stephen says, if the number 10 doesn't work, if they can't fix that, the breakdown is going to continue, and then you're going to have your inside centers and your scrum halves trying to compensate for a struggling number 10, which that puts pressure on your back row, and then that puts pressure on the outside backs who are not getting the front foot ball or the momentum and the fluid play. It just all breaks down from there. So it's such a key position. And although sure 10s aren't great in New Zealand rugby at the moment, there's a little bit of consistency with the other sides, bar the Hurricanes. But, the Blues have got names they know. The Chiefs have got consistent names that they've been there and can hold their own. So, look, it's much for the South Island. As we go further down, there's going to be a similar sort of story. But the quality's there for the Crusaders. It's just about putting the performance and the consistency and injury-free out in the paddock.
Yeah, and whilst we talked about the Hurricanes, how that we could see Cam Roygaard sort of running the game. Mitchell Drummond is not that player, right? Noah Hotham has not got is a couple of years younger or a year or two younger. Just doesn't have the experience either. So those guys can't run that game in the same way that he can, or the same way we think he can anyway. So that's why they do need that. They're probably the 10 more than the Hurricanes from that point of view. But they do have, you say, they've got the tools around him again. Look, with George Bowen, Newell, Tamati Williams, you've got plenty of props. With George Bell and Cody Taylor, your front row is going to be fine. Ethan Blackadder, Cullen Grace. I mean, call it again. Cullen Grace is what is one cap all black. Mitch Drummond is as well. Leah Willie, Tom Christie, and Dominic Gardner. You've got players who've got Super Rugby experience there. The one area that is a little bit lacking are those locks now, having lost a couple. You've got Quinton Strange, I think, spent most of last season injured again as well. And Scott Barrett. But Jamie Hanna, Shelfron, Cahill, I don't think there's that much. Cahill, five appearances. Hanna, 9 for the Crusaders. And Shelfron, 4. It suddenly becomes very inexperienced in that engine room if you lose your Scott Barrett and or Quinton Strange. So that's their one area that you look at and go, ooh, that and also figure out the number 10 are the two there that I think they need to sort out. And then so rugby gamer, why is Reese so cocky? Well, because he scores tries. If you can deliver, then to my mind, he can be. It's only cocky if you don't deliver, isn't it? I think.
Well, can we say, where did Sevu Reese of the Crusaders go? You go back to that Crusaders season last year, and all doom and gloom as it was, he was one guy who stood out just exceptionally higher than everyone else. Just his work rate, getting around the field, taking up other people's slack, right positions, scoring tries, freakishly just solo doing it, right? He did everything in Super Rugby. And then it's like, well, hot damn, we're going to get international. Sevu Reese is the first name on my team sheet when it comes to wingers. And by the end of it, it's just like, well, we're looking a bit thin on the wings. Oh, what happened to that Sevu Reese? He just, I don't know, he's kind of an anti-Ma'anonu. He's great at Super Rugby, and then he's fallen off the track a little bit when it's gone to the All Blacks.
Because, going to say, guys, interestingly enough, the Crusaders played 5 different guys at first 5 last year. Just incredible that they can't afford to let that happen again. Somebody's really got to take ownership of that first 5 spot. I mean, by the time they'd actually tried 4 guys, and by the time they brought Fergus Burke back, I think the ship had already sailed.
Yeah. Moving in then to so as Stephen Harris says, they can't do worse than last year, surely, but maybe they can. But again, key injuries could be a problem for them, particularly in that engine room and 10 jersey. But definitely question marks also around the coaching as well, as to see what will actually as to see. So basically not expecting them to be challengers, but expecting them to be better than last year, I think, is where we're kind of standing with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Down to the Highlanders then. Now, we've been talking about the number of internationals teams have, and then we get to the Highlanders with their 2 in Ethan de Groot and Folau Fakatava. Also, just go make some coffee while I read through the changes, because on the way out, we've had Dre Mainsley has headed off to France. Ricky Jackson has also gone from the front row. Parry Parkinson has gone to Japan. Will Tucker to the Hurricanes. Tom Sanders and Billy Harmon are also gone, with Harmon going to Japan. Reece Pratchell has headed off to Japan. A lot of players going to Japan here. Josh Chimu, the very sad passing, obviously, of Connor Garden Bashop during last year. And Martin Bogado, the fullback, has headed off, the Argentinian fullback has headed off to France as well. So 10 players on the way out there on that one. On the way in, though, Sefu Kuatai from the Brumbies and Josh Bartlett from the Western Force. So heading across the Tasman to get their recruits in the propping department. Not always necessarily the most. If you're looking for props, you don't always think Australia, do you? Let's be honest, but there we go. Sione Vidikai from the Blues comes down at hooker. Luai Natia from Otago. TK Howden from the Hurricanes. Viveni Lasako from the Hurricanes there in the back row. Then we go out to the wings. We've got Tane Robinson, Michael Manson, and Caleb Tangitu. Robinson and Tangitu have got Super Rugby experience. And then Thomas Omanga Jensen at fullback as well. So I was thinking, no, he's not new, is he? He's been there for a while. I was injured last year. That's why.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dearie me. As Opton Right says, Jamie Joseph is the big development in this one. He says no more silly, confused selections and game plans in that one. Look, obviously Thomas Van Jensen, a bit we talked about with the Crusaders there, a player coming back from injury, so perhaps kind of a new signing. The last year you had your Ratamuti Neepkins and going well. A lot of expectation around Tavatava Nawai, from who obviously came down from the from Moana Pacifica and again didn't, a bit like Levi Moore, didn't manage to sort of translate that form. Perhaps the name on a lot of people's lips here that they're looking at is around Cam Miller. Is perhaps the guy that everyone's sort of perhaps looking at, especially with the New Zealand's number 10 stocks not being so great. But how are you heading into this season with confidence, Cornflake, or are you as a Highlanders fan down there?
Yeah, look, you've got to build these guys up from somewhere, right? I don't believe this is not a bad team. There's a lot of development in this team, so there's a lot to learn. The only way is up. Look, we're going to find out a lot about a lot of these players very quickly, whether they're up to the level and how good they're going to get. There's going to be a lot of pressure on the experienced guys. They're going to have to do a lot of hard work to lead this team. But I feel like with the good coaching staff, like they say, with Joseph at the helm, I don't know if you're going to get a better man to lead a team like this for the Highlanders. You know, the memories of course, that championship winning year are firmly right in the memory. So we've got to keep that nice and upright. But yeah, look, I feel like there's a lot of guys in here who are going to have a big season. That's what the Highlanders have to look forward to. And look, can I start my rant already about the days of the power winger being dead? Michael Manson, look, he's going to absolutely rip up Super Rugby. And I said this during the NPC season. He's going to be all black, and it'll be happening before the end of 2026, provided he stays injury-free. He's phenomenal. So he's the guy I'm going to be watching. I think he is going to be just a guy that's going to shock everyone of just how much he can completely destroy a team's defenses. So, yeah, keep an eye on Michael Manson. And keep an eye on the number 10s, because unlike the other teams, I think the Highlanders have got a good little plan. Two guys there that played a bit last season, showed what they can do. So I want to see more from those guys. Good little youth 9 and 10 combination with a little bit of experience. Most of these guys are 3 or so seasons in now with the Highlanders. So, yeah, I'm looking forward for big things. Guys to stand up. Look, everywhere you look in this team, for me, you've got guys who are experienced. And you talk about going to Australia, 2 props coming back from Australia who are New Zealanders anyway. So, like we said earlier, coming back home. But, you know, De Groot's got to hold up with Daniel Leonard-Brown. Those 2 guys are key. Experience, leading in the front row. Look, to me, Jack Taylor and Henry Bell. You want to see the future of hookers? Those 2 guys have an opportunity to be the future of number 2s in New Zealand rugby. A lot of comments already going on around Fabian Holland. Massive opportunity for him to become that next level of a lock, a position New Zealand is struggling with already. The back row as well. I think Howden's a good addition. He could definitely lead this team. I'm annoyed that we've lost. Who is it? It's gone away. Billy Harmon. That's huge, because I feel like every time we get one good back rower, and we just about get a second with how Sam Withy's been coming up, we lose the experienced one. So there's never the 2 really good back rowers, and it leads to the other having to carry. So Sam Withy's got a big load on his plate to bring that back row as well. But you got Fakatava's got your experience. Gilbert's been around for years now. So there's a lot of guys I think can drag up and pull through experience through all of the key positions in this team, and hopefully find some superstars in this Highlanders team.
Yeah, a comment in the chat the other Jacob Root, Matsumoto Eakins, obviously had that neck injury during NPC, and we still don't know when he'll be returning. So hopefully he returns, and when he does so, that he returns fully fit and doesn't rush back, which does mean but that does open up more opportunities in that back 3 there. Which look, as we said, Toto and Arway, I think he's a very intelligent player. He's and a lot of people talk about his like speed and power and all that kind of stuff. But he went away. I remember in NPC a couple of years ago, and he knew he had a weight game coming up in Hawke's Bay, and so he spent all week practicing taking high balls. And he came in and just had an absolute blinder. So he's a so I know a lot of we could very much pigeonhole into power winger or power fast winger, but actually I think he's a very intelligent player in that sort of space. Nariki, a guy who a few seasons back, lots of potential, and unfortunately as injuries have really held him back in that one. Seen these sort of names that have been talked about in the live chat there as well. But yeah, Fabian Holland, as you say, Mitch Dunshay, you talk about that De Groot and Leonard Brown have to hold down that front row, but those 2 guys also have to hold down the entry room. Only sort of three locks in there. I think we're going to have a few of the loose forwards get reused in that one, which could be a bit of a problem come scrumming time or line out. But for that one, Perry Parkinson's one that there were big props on him. Never really saw that through. Having listening to his Waddle Lad podcast interview, not the brightest sometimes, and kind of just happened to be good at it and kind of enjoyed it. But when you're playing NPC level and having to ask Quentin Strange, what we do, what's the next call, and getting told on the fly as to what you're supposed to do, and admitting that on a podcast shows perhaps you don't learn your playbook as well as you should do. But Stephen, how's you optimistic as well as Cornflake on this one?
Yeah, let's not hope so, man. It's definitely a squad. You know, the pluses. Jamie Joseph is a real plus. I think the fact that there are a lot of guys who had a year last year are around this squad again. I totally endorse what Cornflake says. I think Billy Harmon's the biggest loss of any player in any of the squads, and that's with the greatest respect to some of the players that are moving on. He's a huge loss, and I think there should have been a lot more done to have kept this boy in the team. I'm excited about their back division. Shame about Ratamaivuki Nepkins being injured for the season, but I think there is some options available there. Not just the ones we've been actually talking about, but you mentioned Jonah Nariki before. He's such a skillful player. I think he could easily slide into fullback because he's got a kicking game, he's got a running game, he feels the high ball really well. Just finding the right mix. And Fabian Holland, well, he's been talked about as an All Black, and he's a really big body. But man, Michael Manson, seeing the way that kid is just so rapid, I am seriously excited to see that guy. He actually could. We speak about Wallace Atiti being a breakout player for the All Blacks this year. At a time where you look at our outside backs in the All Blacks, really our top end probably only really comes from Will Jordan, and we can certainly do with some extra wheels. I'm really hoping that the Highlanders buck the trend. They're off to a tough start though. They've the first game Waratahs away, so that'll be a strong test, and then the Blues at home, so another testing game, and then Moana up here in Auckland. I'll definitely might truck along and have a look at that game as well. I'm just hoping they go well. We need a good competitive Highlanders team in this competition, and if it comes at the expense of a couple of other New Zealand teams, then so be it, I reckon.
Yeah, it's look. Is Michael Manson also someone who went over to Utah Warriors and to play a bit in Major League Rugby last year. So someone who's not afraid to get himself out of his comfort zone and actually sort of go and travel. So I think that probably helped him grow up as well, having to look after himself in that kind of way. But yeah, a guy from Invercargill, so he's always had to travel. Hence has been up to Otago for Otago Boys High School. So again, someone who's had to sort of lived away from home. And sort of got forced to grow up by not always having perhaps the full support network doing stuff for him. So yeah, no, it would be interesting to see how he goes with that one. Now we've so that's our roundup of the New Zealand teams, as we say. So we got Blues Crusaders Blues Chiefs in the final, and the other three knocking over teams occasionally, depending on how they pull things together. Can Jamie Joseph gel the Highlanders team? Can the Hurricanes and Crusaders cover up on their weaknesses in their squads, or their holes in their squads, and survive potential injuries in that one? Not too much. Will Fakatava be a leader? For that one, we'll just have to see, because. Or will actually James Narscott or Nathan Hastie actually step in and actually get step past him? Because all the talk was that Folau Fakatava will blossom after Aaron Smith moves, after he's learned from Aaron Smith and Aaron Smith moves on, and it hasn't really happened, has it? Unfortunately. So
he's a guy that sits alongside Satutu. Like a lot of chat earlier when we were talking about the Blues is what Satutu will do after this season, whether he'll jump ship, if that next dream is not there. Fakatava falls into that same boat for me. He's had a taste and he wants more. If he's not going to get that more, does he start to look for the cash? It's interesting to see what happens to him in 2026.
And born in Tonga. So when was his last game for the All Blacks?
Ages ago.
Oh yeah, because he went to the All Blacks 15, which is not a what do you call it, a capture side. So hence, yeah, so he could, in theory, be sort of switched just before the next Rugby World Cup to Tonga. We'll have to wait and see.
Watch that space.
Watch that space, exactly. So next week we'll have a look at the Australian teams, and we'll see if we have time for Moana Pacifica and Fiji and Drua, or maybe they'll be left over till week 3, because as Stephen Harris pointed out, we have 45 days, was it, until Super Rugby starts. So we have a couple of shows before that for us to get through those other squads. We don't have to rush it too fast, and so do join us next Monday at 8 p.m. For those ones, when we'll be in the new year. We'll be in 2025. So this is signing out from 2024, folks. Have a safe and happy new year from all of us here at New Zealand Sport Radio.